This is JoyNews Today with me, Emefa Akosia Adeti. The bulletin is live from our studios here in Kokomlemle, Accra. Also on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 125. Top stories this hour. Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools CHAS worried about inadequate food supply in senior high schools across the region. Also, President John Mahama to establish committee for a National Education Review Conference to address challenges and reform Ghana's educational system. We've got details. And traditional leaders at our win vow to prosecute illegal miners to curb the trend. Now do stay for details. Many thanks for choosing us. We are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Now, first this afternoon, Bono East chapter of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, is worried about inadequate food supply in senior high schools across the region. Now, CHAS says most schools are currently forced to feed students with unbalanced food items due to shortage of some staples, hampering academic work. We'll hear from them shortly. First, let's bring in correspondent Anas Sabit, who has been touring some schools in the Bono region. Anas, what have you been discovering so far?
MFA, as you rightly said, we have been to some senior high schools in the Techiman North and South, constituencies, and students and school authorities are worried at the kind of food items that are being served on daily basis since the reopening of schools. What we know is that the entire Bono Afro region has three various food points when it comes to senior high schools. One is the Techiman Senior High School, the other is Jema Senior High School, and then the final one is Nkranza Senior High School. Now, in almost all these food depots or food stores, they are forced to deal with one specific food item. For instance, if you come to Techiman and its environs, all schools in this area currently have rice in stock. They are lacking beans, they are lacking maize, they are lacking flour. And so when they are served with breakfast, they are forced to take only tea. If it is tea, if it is Tom Brown, they have to take it like that without bread and what have you. So in the afternoon, they will be forced to take, if it is jollof rice, and even it may be plain rice or rice balls. So this means they are being forced to eat one type of food item. The situation is different when you go to Nkranza and its environs and then Kintampo and its environs. Over there, they have maize and beans, and they are lacking rice. And because of that, they are also being forced to take that same amount of food afternoon and evening, almost on daily basis. And this, according to head teachers in this area, is worrying because these students are being forced to take unbalanced diet, which equally has some health effects on the students, and thereby they are supporting the cause by CHAS that parents need to complement the efforts of feeding students with food, so that when the children are in school and they eat something in the afternoon, they will be having other food items to eat when they go back to their dormitory, so they have some kind of balanced diet on daily basis.
Well, Anas, do we know whether these staples that they have were old stock or are old stock, or these are new stocks that have been given to them since school reopened? I ask because I want to find out how long the current staples they have will last.
Yes, almost all that we are seeing are, food items that are already in place before the school closed. And the headmasters are also telling us they received some amounts recently that they used to buy some perishables, meat and what have you, to complement what they are having already. They are having gari, they are having some oils, and the oil they are having is the red oil, which is, cannot be used to prepare some amount of food. They need the fried oils and the vegetable oils, but that is completely out of stock. So they are doing their own things to be able to accommodate the students so that the students will not be forced home. But as I speak to you now, they're out of flour, which is key, especially when it comes to breakfast. Whatever food item they are serving them in the mornings, you have to take them alone without bread, or the students or students will have to buy their breads and then come along with it in the various dining halls.
Okay, and you say that this situation is not peculiar to just the schools that you have mentioned. You would find this situation in almost all of the schools in the Bono region.
It cuts across. It cuts across all the schools in the region. If you have rice, then you might be lacking, beans or maize or what have you. And if you have beans or maize, then you might be in shortage of rice. This is not a new thing, according to the chairman of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, Mr. Douglas Nyaman, who is telling us that they've been coping with this situation for some time now. But what they do is that once there is some amount of food, the students are supposed to be forced or to eat what is available and not go hungry as they are in school to study.
Thank you, Anas. Time now to bring in Bono East Regional Chairman of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, Charles, Douglas Solomon Nyaman. Thank you so much for joining us. What really is the situation? My colleague is telling me that you have some particular staples, but you do not have the right balanced meals, I should say. Tell us, what's the situation currently? If you can hear me, kindly unmute. We'll try and connect with Douglas Solomon, but if you can hear me...
Thank you very much for the very wonderful opportunity that you have given to me. We have 3 centers in Bono East. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
So we have the Timan Senior High Center. We have Nkransa Senior High Center. And when we say Nkransa Senior High, it's Nkransa and the schools that are around Nkransa and its environment. Then we have Atebubu as a center, but
well, so these 3 centers, I'm not sure, but the network is not favoring us. But if you can hear us, we want to understand whether these 3 centers would be feeding the entire region and what exactly are you lacking? Okay, we'll try and connect back to Mr. Douglas Solomon Nyaman, but let's speak to former ranking member on Parliament Education Committee, Mr. Peter Nochu Kotoe, who I'd like to find out really, with all that is happening, you have been speaking a lot about the current situation in our secondary schools, but currently, what really do you think we should be doing to curb the situation?
Yeah, thank you very much. If I listen carefully to your correspondent, it is revealing that the challenges as far as the feeding of our students in senior high schools is becoming worsened by the day. I remember very well that called for a postponement of the reopening of the secondary schools last week. This was not heeded to by the former government and, for that matter, the Ghana Education Service. I think this is a result of their refusal to listen to the call by staff. Currently, we are understanding the situation. We are very much aware of what Charles has said. It is very disturbing. But you know very well that feeding has been a perennial problem with the free senior high school problem since its inception, especially from 2018. And the problem has not been solved, unfortunately. But I can assure you that there's a technical team that is working on it. And within the shortest time, I'm sure you will hear the plans and programs that are being put in place. But let me just say that the NDC government decision is to decentralize the procurement of food items. The system of centralization where food items are procured in Accra and distributed to schools or centers across the country has been very, very expensive, bereft with corruption. So we are going to make sure that school authorities are given the resources to buy food from the local communities and feed the children, give them a balanced diet, so that at the end of the day, there's also local economy that is improved. So I can assure you that steps are being taken.
Well, but in the interim,
the details now.
In the interim, parents are asking that they be allowed to at least support their wards. Now, currently, it's actually happening where children happen to at least balance their meals by themselves. If the school is able to feed them, say, in the morning, they would have to feed themselves in the afternoon. There's some sort of rationing among the students and then the schools. But are you going to be allowing the parents at least to help the schools?
We have not reached there yet. So what is going to happen is that status quo must continue until such time that we have finished with our consultations. You know, there's going to be a stakeholder engagement as soon as the Minister for Education is put in place. That's what we're going to do, so that parents and CSO and all those who are affected or concerned about the welfare and the progress of a free SHS program in the country will take a decision. So for now, I cannot say that we should allow parents to pay for the feeding of their wards when we have not sat down to take that decision in consultation with all stakeholders.
Some parents are quite concerned, and I'll stay with you, that the amount of energy that the current government is giving into the energy sector, because they think it's quite alarming, it's not the same amount of energy that's being given to the education sector, particularly this peculiar situation of feeding, and it's quite worrying. What would you have to say to them?
Well, I will not agree with them, because all the challenges are there, several sectors. And once energy has received attention, I can assure them that education also in the next few days will receive the necessary attention and then prompt solution to the problem. So they should just rest assured, within a very short time, things will normalize.
Thank you so much. We'll keep an eye on that. But let's go back to Mr. Douglas Solomon. Let's understand the situation really in the Bono region. Earlier, you were telling us that there were about 3 centers in Bono region. Please carry on.
Yeah, when you come to Techiman Center, Techiman Center feeds schools around Techiman and its environs. The Techiman Center, we are talking about schools in the Techiman South, Techiman North, then we are talking about Kentampo and Jema. These schools that are mentioned, the food that we have available now, lunch and supper, is rice. So this is the major food that we have. But prior to the vacation, was the rice that we have in stock. And this is the rice that we have been using to feed students for breakfast and for supper. Now, when you go to Nkranza as a center, schools around, they have maize and beans. And these are the food items that are available.
Okay.
And they have been using it to feed students for lunch and for supper. And when you go to Atebubu, a similar issue is also there. They also have maize and beans. So you can imagine, this is one food line item. So we have been varying this food for almost about 6 months now.
Okay.
When it comes to items like tin tomatoes, mackerel, sardines, we have them a little quantities, but not adequate to feed students to the end of the semester.
Okay.
We don't have vegetable oil, but we have red oil. So you can imagine, we have been using red oil for close to about 3 to 4 months now.
Right.
Not that we don't have food in stock, we have. But what we are trying to say is that we don't have the balanced diet. So we are pleading with the powers that be, that all the line items to be supplied to our schools.
Mr. Nyaman, let me in a bit. Typically, what is a balanced diet like in the secondary schools?
Or in the balanced diet, food that cut across all the food items is what we are talking about. So you don't see one food line like maize as rice porridge in the morning, maize as lunch, rice as breakfast, rice as lunch, and the same maybe jollof rice or rice balls
for supper. This is what we are talking about.
Well, I totally understand. We're just trying to understand that typically in the morning, what would you have fed them? If everything was all right, then in the morning you'd feed them with what? And then in the afternoon you feed them with what?
We have some amount of beverage, but it's not adequate.
Okay.
No, we have some amount of Tom Brown, but it's not adequate.
Okay.
But what we are saying is, food in the secondary school is not about breakfast. It's about a heavy food, a heavy lunch, and a heavy supper.
Okay.
But if the lunch and the supper is one line, it's one way, it is too much. Like I said earlier, in Cranston has maize and beans. So maize and beans for lunch and for supper. Techiman Center has rice. So you can imagine, we vary rice in different meals. We are varying rice in different meals. Jollof rice, plain rice, rice ball. You vary them for lunch, you vary them for supper. And this is what we are talking about. Not that there is no food. There is food.
Okay.
There is some quantities of food. When you go to some regions, yes, they don't have food. Like the Upper West.
Yeah.
But we have food.
Okay.
But just that the line item is what we are talking about.
Well,
we have some amount of tin tomatoes, some amount of mackerel, some amount of milk. They are there. But when it comes to lunch and supper, this is
where the challenge is. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Douglas Solomon Nyaman. And the former ranking committee member, Mr. Peter Notu, has been telling us that the government at least is working assiduously to at least curb the situation. And so we'll be keeping an eye on that. Meanwhile, President John Mahama says he will formulate a National Education Review Conference which will address challenges and reform Ghana's educational system from kindergarten to the tertiary level. He spoke at the 92nd Annual National Jalsa of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission at the Pomazi in the Central Region. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
Cheers for President Mahama as he arrived at Pomazi for the annual National Jalsa or Convention of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission Ghana. The event was John Mahama's first public engagement after he was sworn in as president. Speaking at the event, John Mahama promised to prioritize the passage of a code of conduct for public officials in his new government. He also announced plans to establish a planning committee for a National Education Review Conference which aims to address challenges and reform Ghana's educational system.
I'm going to set up a planning committee to start working on the National Education Review Conference that I promised. This conference will review our educational system right from the kindergarten through the basic to secondary to tertiary to technical, vocational education, and identify what the hindrances to quality education are at each level of our educational system. I believe that this conference will come out with new ideas in order to provide us the outcomes that we need as a nation.
John Mahama also shared plans about the National Constitution Review Conference.
The new NDC administration is resolutely committed to strengthening our justice system to ensure judicial independence and address the systemic inequalities that currently exist. I can assure you that this administration will work tirelessly to ensure that every Ghanaian, regardless of your status or background, is treated with dignity and afforded equal protection under the law. To achieve this objective of justice, we would have to move the stalled constitutional review process forward. To achieve this, I would soon establish a committee to begin the planning of a National Constitutional Review Validation Conference to achieve broad consensus on the way forward for the constitutional amendments that we have all proposed.
Away from education, the Our Wind Traditional Council has instituted measures to preserve the environment amidst growing concerns of unregulated mining activities. Traditional leaders say they will work assiduously to ensure perpetrators are brought to book. Here is Ina Thalia Konsa with more.
left a trail of destruction across Ghana, with the Awowin traditional area being no exception. Despite ongoing efforts to tackle this menace, water bodies remain polluted and forest reserve continue to suffer irreversible damage. Speaking at a news conference, the chief of Nkwanta, Nana Ntodi, said, stressed the importance of adhering to warning from spiritual advisors. He underscored the critical role of traditional leaders as stewards of the land.
Notwithstanding the banning on all mining activities, small-scale miners licensed by the government of Ghana through the Minerals Commission to undertake mining are required to bring their document in evidence of authority to the attention of the Awowin Traditional Council so that Nananum could get this man sign an undertaking to protect our water bodies and forest reserves. If any of them should ever dare to go against the undertaking, not only shall resort to prosecuting them, but things would equally bear the consequences and wrath of the gods. Please be warned accordingly.
The Awowin Traditional Council, together with fetish priests and priestesses, performed rituals, poured libation, and recited incantation to seek divine intervention in the fight against illegal mining.
It will be wrongful on our part, and we will be blamed by the living, our ancestors, and the posterity if we sit aloof to allow the rot of illegal mining to get out of hands as it almost currently. None of our are of the view that our subjects, ancestors, and gods have demanded us to act against this barbaric practice which threatens our very survival and existence.
For Joy News, in Athalia Kwansa, Awowin.
Now, let's talk to Ina Thalia Kwansa on this. Ina, I definitely know that the issue of illegal mining is a national concern. However, we also know that it's really in the hands of the government to prosecute. Let's understand how these traditional authorities intend to want to do this.
So, MFA, just like you rightly said, Western region is one region which has been hit by this illegal mining issue. And so for the traditional leaders and the petty priests and priestess you saw in that video, they believe that in everything there is some form of spirituality, and then they believe that their ancestors live with them. You know, there were concerns that where are the river gods, where are the gods of the land when people are destroying our lands? And so they have come together this time around that they do not want to fight it physically alone, but they want to evoke their ancestors and the gods that people are asking that where are they to come in and then fight this battle for them. And therefore, let me tell you that Awowin is a huge community, cocoa growing community for that matter. Okay. But with the exception of only one community, which is known as Zima, every community that you visit in the Awowin municipality has illegal mining within it. And so for the people of Zima, for instance, the chiefs came together and then they formed their own task force, and then they made it clear to everyone that irrespective of the powers that be, if you should come into their community to mine illegally, they will take the powers into their hands. So it is one community that has clear water. I think last year we did a story on them when we saw how clear water their river bodies are. But for the rest of the community in Awowin, it is pathetic. Their lands are destroyed and their waters are nothing to write home about. So that is why the fetish priestess, the priests, and the traditional council have come together for this initiative, MFA.
Did the community react to this in any way?
Yes, MFA. So for the community members, they are in support of this initiative. I remember some time back, a chief within the Awowin municipality asked me that when they are bringing excavators and others to various communities, are there no police barriers? And so I also asked him that when they come to their communities, do they not hear of them? And they tell me that, oh, they come with under the pretense that they are from high officials, they are from the Minerals Commission and all that. But for this time around, they are not going to sit down to tolerate anyone coming into the community. And so community members are in full support of this. traditional leaders are also in full support of this initiative, MFA.
Natalia, thank you so much for bringing us that report from the Western region. Now moving on, hundreds of market women at Ifijasi in the Ashanti region are demanding access to stalls after paying a contractor for the renovation of the market. The traders allege the Setre East District Assembly instructed them to pay the contractor for the rehabilitation, with the promise that each trader will be allotted a stall once the work was completed. They say despite that assurance, the space has been allocated to unknown persons after project completion. Here is a report.
Over 100 traders of the Fiduciary markets, mostly women, hit the streets with placards to protest against the local assembly and the contractor for failing to award them their spaces to trade after paying for the market rehabilitation. The traders expressed their anger and disappointment in the former district chief executive for Setre East, Osei Edia. They are demanding a refund of their money or access to the stores.
Yenye sikenchi ani bum enti wa mo ti meeting ma yens edwofo ne yemfie nipa nka ho ye de nipa mienu council baako enti council na ni din ehya.
They promised to rebuild the market for 210 Ghana cedis, allowing partial payments, with the council we appointed in charge. However, we've heard nothing from the DC. We need our stores and our money.
Ya body si aba o se kina meba ade kina meba nimu ani afia buchini nsie ni e se de aduro no botia me kwa boye no edwamfo ye hia ye sika ye hia ya dan ne sika ne hia omo nso sika na amaye ama na me bia da na ama no kwambia me pe me se me kwadanum na wachina no.
If we don't get our money or access to the store, I will enter without permission. My items are all rusted now.
But the project contractor has denied allegations. CEO of Andy Bell Construction Company, Andrew Champon, says the funds were paid to the Setre East District Assembly.
Say a judge for mame or Muntias Kavia mame. Name a assembly no and or more assembly member back. Edi don't be any buyer say or more than 80 dwelling. Inti nipa 16 and huska and omudi preme 16 shops and so media more. Inti nyano press will get you mame wadra and front shop.
It's false that all marketers paid me. Only 16 people did, and they have received their shops.
Said I was in Papa DC tree mutre or catch any seminar maker. Mijamo fidicas is on America. Never says a car major, memo 10%. Omujije man sika na eyo omo se mintua nti omu di kaati se sika na me nso me de time so ye wo se me operate no na wo se mitua me 10% se de nhehye no etie nti me de me checks ekoi e mo mo clear checks no nti omo clear ye no nanka nyije mu a sika na nkomu di kaati ye no komo san fa nkoto e na omo san de se sika no kan de omo di kaati no nti e no na e problem sika ni nyana nti me man.
Joseph Obin's report for Joy News.
Well, stakeholders are divided over President John Mahama's promise to run his government with just 60 ministers. Mr. Mahama, in the lead up to the 2024 presidential elections, promised to run a lean government to ensure a more efficient and effective system of governance while protecting the public purse. Speaking earlier on Newsdesk, political scientist at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asante, said President John Mahama can actually run his government with 90 ministers. 90 ministers, with each appointee 19 ministers actually, even lesser than what he has promised. Appointee playing double roles.
Yes, I agree. If we place a cap, we find a certain number which is fine. Well, we should do that so that we reduce cost in this area. I have just put down my 19 ministries, and I want to...
Please share them with me. I'm curious.
One, finance, 2 interior, 3 defense, 4 trade, 5 information, 6 local government, 7 attorney general, 8 education, youth, 9 roads, 10 11 gender, 12 health, 13 foreign affairs, 15 labor, 16 chieftaincy, 17 agric, 18 youth and sports, and I still have 1 more. We can do that. We can do that.
You still have 1 more left.
So, yeah,
what of the regional ministers?
The regional ministers are going to be in here. We are going to select 16. So a minister will hold 2 portfolios. He's a minister of state and a regional minister. Yes, because we've seen that. Remember Kufuor's time, there was a problem, and Mr. Deborah, Deborah was made a minister, and he was also supervising a region and all that. It's done. We can do that, and then the civil servants will support us. 19, no deputy minister, and then we are good to go.
Local governance expert Andrews Vidiako disagrees.
What kind of savings are we talking about here? Is it about salaries? Because when you scrap these ministries, all the technocrats, all the civil servants who work in these ministries, you cannot sack them. So their salaries will be paid by all means. So are we talking about savings or the money that we use in paying the minister or his deputies? Is that the savings that we are talking about? Because these monies that we are talking about, when the ministry is removed or is scrapped, definitely these monies will be given to the emerging ministry that you have created. And those monies are going to be used. So I don't see where we are talking about savings. Because when you take, let's say, Minister of Foreign Affairs, for example, away, and you leave Minister of Local Government, there are people who are supposed to be working, or there are people who were working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and they are technocrats. You cannot sack them. So the savings that we are talking about, what kind of savings are we talking about? That you are preparing to go to opposition. I tell you,
so you are looking at the political angle of it.
Yes, because, my dear, you see, if you are a politician, what you need is that you need power to implement your policies. If you don't have power, you can't implement. If you have all the good ideas, intentions and purposes, whatever, and you don't have power, you can't implement it. So the aim of every politician is to get power. And if you want to step on toes, because Doctor is an academician, I understand him, but looking at the kind of politics that we do in Ghana and the institutions that we have in Ghana, I don't think we have gotten to a point that we think we need 90 ministries to run this country. I don't think so.
You're watching Joy News Today. I shall take you to the National Mosque in Kanda, where a national Thanksgiving is being held in honor for President Mahama. And Maxwell is on standby.
John Mahama is expected to arrive here shortly, but we have with us NDC Member of Parliament, Murtala Ibrahim. He's going to join us shortly to have a short conversation with him. But John Mahama is expected to arrive here on the ground for this National Muslim Thanksgiving and prayers. I've been speaking to quite a number of people here, and they have high expectations for the new government. Many of them have been speaking to say that they are hoping that John Mahama, the president, will swiftly implement some of the promises that he made on the campaign trail, some of the promises for the Muslim community. Key amongst them is to drastically, significantly reduce the cost of performing the Hajj and also giving them additional Eid holiday. But I have here NDC Member of Parliament here, Murtala Mohammed. Let's speak to him. Let's have a conversation with him. Hello, sir. You're welcome to join us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great. Tell us, it's a national Thanksgiving, Muslim Thanksgiving and prayers. I'm sure you're excited to be here as well. 3 days, John Mahama was sworn in just some days ago, and we already have issues regarding, the power sector. We're told the NPP did not. The outgoing government did not procure enough fuel, for all of that. But John Mahama said that we shouldn't worry and that he's going to fix the challenge. I don't know what you make of it.
Well, don't say we already have issues. When you say we already have issues, it is suggestive that those issues started right after the president was sworn.
No, so I made it clear. I made it clear. I made it clear.
The previous government deliberately settled this administration with the issues.
But I made a point. I made a point clear that we've been told that our own government did not procure enough fuel.
Listen, it's not about we've been told. That's a fact. Yeah. So I was expecting you to say that the previous administration deliberately saddled this government with the problems. You know. You do know Joy FM is a reputable media organization. You have the facts, and you do know
that fact we know, and we've put out that fact. So let's not go on that tangent.
They deliberately saddled this government with a challenge. They knew that leaving us with a crude that would be supplied for just hours was something that was going to be detrimental. But the good thing is that, look, President Mahama was elected to solve the problems. And the reason why he says he's going to reset this country is precisely what he's going to do. And that is why I have chosen that we will not lament on some of the maladministration that the people of this country were subjected to. And I guess it is as a result of that, the people of this country overwhelmingly voted President Mahama. And the assurance he gave that despite the fact that they deliberately did that, he is going to solve the problem. And that is why he reconstituted a team, or constituted a team to find solution to it. It is not for nothing that the three key ministers have been announced. Minister for Finance, Minister for Energy designate, and the Minister for Justice and Attorney General. Mind you, the issues of energy, borders on finance, borders on energy, and borders on some legalities. And I think that I have no doubt in mind that Parliament, we are we have agenda, you know, more or less in recess for 1 week. We shall be coming back on Tuesday. The appointment committee has been constituted.
Well, let's take you now to the Electoral Commission Regional Head Office, where the supporters of the NDC have a master there, insisting that the EC will declare the candidate, Rabna Obin. And my colleague James Aveji is our man on grounds. James, what's happening?
Well, MF, as you can see behind me, quite a number of NDC supporters who said they are coming from the Ablikman North constituency. Some, about an hour ago, have gathered here at the forecourt of the EC's Greater Accra Regional Office. And in the last few minutes, I've been interacting with them. What they are indicating is that the Electoral Commission should immediately declare their candidate, Rabna Obin, as winner of that constituency. You know the history behind Ablikman North. 5 different attempts have not been able to give us a winner of the parliamentary elections there, where Rabna Obin and Nana Ekuefrie are contesting that the EC last 2 days suspended proceedings because they are not able to authenticate the polling result of some 3 other polling stations. And we have here the constituency director of elections who is on standby to address the media on what exactly they are demanding, apart from the call for immediate declaration of their candidate. What exactly is contained in that statement you want to share with the public and the Electoral Commission?
So we wish to address...
First, tell us your name.
I'm Daniel Tonyega. I'm the Elections Director of the constituency. We wish to address the true state of the Ablikman North constituency parliamentary elections following the 6th illegal recollation exercise, even though an initial declaration was made by the same commission. We regret to inform you that the 7th time this illegal recollation was attempted. It was yesterday, Thursday, the 9th of January 2025. And again, the NDC side was not invited. Now, these are some of the key issues. The EC regional chairperson, Madam Gladys Pinkra, and some EC officials have from the onset displayed their excess love for the MPP side. This was again exhibited through her actions on Wednesday, the 8th of January, with reference to the falsified pink sheet provided by the Commission to support the MPP and the illegal recollation. Some presiding officers have confirmed that the pink sheets supplied by the EC on the MPP's behalf 1 month after the elections are altered pink sheets and can make these polling stations codes available to you. Now, 7 out of the 13 presiding officers who the EC presented to authenticate some results were imposters and not the actual presiding officers at the post on election day. This explains why the EC failed to adhere to the call for some identification for these presiding officers. A presiding officer was forced to authenticate 2 separate pink sheets on 2 separate days. One was an altered scanned document and the other was an altered pink sheet. The returning officer requested the signature of a presiding officer through a WhatsApp. This was scanned and transferred onto a statement of pool to favor the MPP. We can provide the police station code, date, day and time this illegality took place. Currently, one of the 3 of these presiding officers is being convinced with huge offers to turn up at a secret location to confirm the forged result to the advantage of the MPP candidate. We are monitoring. At this rate and stage, we are wondering which part of the CI 127 endorses the above processes. Unfortunately, Madam Jaminsa's EC continues to set precedences that endangers our electoral processes and threatens our peace, security, and stability. These revelations and more validate the NDC in Ablekuma North constituency's consistent claim that the MPP scanned pink sheets are all altered and underscore the Electoral Commission's questionable acceptance of these documents. Furthermore, please, can the EC at least demonstrate some level of their amount of integrity, because their returning officer indeed confirmed that the EC had no pink sheet or materials to proceed with any meaningful duty. Yet, from all indications, some of the EC bosses have resorted to illegal processes with scanned copies of one political party to the disadvantage of the other. Just this instance raises a lot of questions. Now, the EC is setting yet another dangerous precedent which definitely harms our electoral laws, processes, and peace, stability of the constituents involved. The EC's entrenched position to aid anomalies to favor the MPP and their candidate should not be condoned by anyone.
Well, the electoral director for the NDC at the Ablekuma North constituency addressing the media, the petition that will be contained, given to the Electoral Commission there on your screens. But we'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, Winston Taki will bring you visitors. Please stay.
Welcome back to Business on JoyNews Today. My name is Winston Taki, and as our first business story, Director General of the Internal Audit Agency, Dr. Eric Odro-Osai, has expressed optimism that the adoption of global internal audit standards in Ghana will help improve the internal audit practices. Speaking to Joy Business after the unveiling of the GIAS in Accra, Dr. Odro-Osai said the standards will ensure accountability, transparency, and the effective use of the public funds.
Milestone by implementing the global internal audit standards for public sector internal audit, marking a new era of accountability and transparency in the public sector. Since February last year, internal auditors across the country have undergone training and focused on the adoption of global internal audit standards. Speaking on the importance of this launch of the standard, Director General of the Internal Audit Agency, Dr. Eric Odro-Osai, says this will reinforce Ghana's position in the global audit community and ensuring transparency and accountability.
The main significance of this global standards is to internationalize internal audit practice in the public sector of Ghana. Every profession has its own standards, and the standards are globally rated. Therefore, if you are a country in this world and your professional practice standards does not align itself with global standards, it means you are operating below the international standards. So in Ghana, in 2024, a new global standards was issued by the Institute of Internal Auditors Global. As a country, because we want our public sector internal audit practice to be in line with the global standards. We adopted it in February 2024.
Keynote speaker, immediate past chairman of the African Federation of Institute of Internal Auditors, Eric Nathaniel Yanka, described the launch of the global standards as timely.
The timing of this launch is both timely and extremely necessary, given that the world that we live in, fully occupied with the perils and mysteries of emerging technologies, robotics, advanced artificial intelligence, and machine learning, has also been infested, to put it mildly, with the growing and seemingly uncontrollable risks, which themselves are behaving like viruses, continually metamorphing into new risk variants.
Mr. Yanka also called for the swift action on the presidential charter for the Institute of Internal Auditors Ghana.
As we are all aware, the maturity of our profession in Ghana and the very visible impact of the recommendations from the work of the internal auditors across the length and breadth of the country also gives me the opportunity to highlight the urgent need for collective and accelerated action to secure a presidential charter for the Institute of Internal Auditors Ghana. The promulgation.
The Global Internal Audit Standards, fully implemented in Ghana on January 9, 2025, will align public sector practices with international norms.
We have more business update for you at 1 p.m. on the marketplace. My name is Winston Taki. Up next is Showbiz.
Hello there, good afternoon. You're welcome to the Showbiz segments with me, Jacqueline and Samaya Yabua. So our first story, heartbreak in Hollywood as flames consume memories and mansions. The Los Angeles wildfires have left devastation in their wake, with stars like Paris Hilton, Billy Crystal, Adam Brody, and many more losing their homes to the infernos. More than 2,000 structures, including iconic landmarks, have been reduced to ashes. There's more in the following report.
The worst devastation hits Pacific Palisades, a stunning neighborhood where hillside streets kiss the Santa Monica Mountains and roll down to the Pacific Ocean. Now, much of that haven is nothing but rubble. The fire, driven by fierce winds, grew from a few hundred acres to a staggering 15,000 acres since Tuesday, destroying lives and memories in its path. Actor James Woods, who once graced the big screen in Nixon and Casino, broke down on CNN saying, "Losing my Pacific Palisades home is like losing a part of myself."
You've just got to get out of the way and let them do their jobs. And yes, maybe your home's going to burn down, but let me tell you what's more important than your home is your 94-year-old neighbor and your fellow across the street who's trying to help you, and all the friends and family who've been calling all day.
Paris Hilton shared a tearful Instagram post calling the sight of her Malibu home burning on live TV a nightmare no one should ever endure. Tina Knowles, Janae Aiko, and other celebrities whose homes were in LA were not spared. Even the music world couldn't escape the flames. Malibu's Harbor Studios, where stars like Drake, Nicki Minaj, and Imagine Dragons created chart-topping hits, has also been lost. But amidst the ashes, there's a glimmer of hope. The Recording Academy and Music Cares have launched the Los Angeles Fire Relief Effort, pledging $1 million to support music professionals affected by the disaster. From celebrities to everyday heroes, everyone is holding on to hope and each other as they rise from the ashes.
Well, away from that, 2024 was a chart-busting year for Ghanaian music, with albums, EPs, and back-to-back hits lighting our playlist. The Dirty December season capped off a spectacular year. But as we usher in 2025, the big question on everyone's mind is who will walk away with the coveted Artist of the Year at the next Telecel Ghana Music Awards. Let's look at some potential names coming up. We have more in the following report.
The TGMA describes the Artist of the Year award as the ultimate prize for the artist with the highest audience appeal, popularity, and undeniable hits in the year under review. And with heavyweights like Famiye, Kim Promise, Kiddy, and King Paluta in the mix, the race is tighter than a drumbeat. Let's dive into their 2024 playlist.
Mighty cool down, don't stop. Time they cool down, don't stop.
Famiye proved his very soon anthem was no fluke. His EP and collaborations with Sarkodie, Pato Rankin, Ayisi, and Kweku Smoke made waves. While his media presence wasn't as loud, his track topping the Apple Music charts in October might just earn him a shot at the throne. Kiddy had us dancing with hits like Danger and Lomo Lomo, featuring Black Sharif rocking up over 7 million streams on Spotify. In Paluta, the 2024 TGMA Best New Artist didn't rest on his laurels, with bangers like Asida and Makoma, plus an album titled Give Me Some Time. He's a force to reckon with. And then there's King Promise. He delivered chart toppers like Paris with over 12 million streams and wrapped up the year with Keep It Sexy and a deluxe edition of his album True to Self. His consistency screams Artist of the Year material.
She says she feels the vibe, I tell her it's mine. Now we did do one on daily. Keep it sexy, keep it classy.
Looks like it could be anyone's game, and the fans can't wait to see who owns the stage in 2025. Let the countdown begin.
Diamond rings in your body, darling, darling. Come find me.
That was my favorite.
But still, it has to be King Paluta.
Oh, really? Why?
And then I'm thinking. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Joy News. My name is MFA Akosia Adeti, and definitely Jackie and Suma Yeboah will see you soon. But there's so much more on the channel, and do log on to myjoyonline.com for more news. Thank you for watching. Come on.